Good evening and welcome to the League of Women Voters of St. Lucie County Candidate Forum of the 2021 election year. I am Sabrina Taylor, the president. Just a few quick reminders and important information before we get started. As you can see, vote by mail ballots are scheduled to be sent out on November 4th. You can mail your ballot back or hand deliver it. If you choose to mail it, please allow 10 to 14 days for delivery. The deadline to request a vote by mail ballot is November 27th. Your ballot must be received by mail 5 p.m. on December 1st. If you choose to deliver it in person, please do so at any one of the St. Lucie County Supervisor of Election offices, no later than 7 p.m. on December 7th. The deadline to register to vote is Monday, November 8th. There will be no early voting in this for the City of Port Pierce as per their request. There will be 6 voting locations: Orange Blossom Business Center, Interest 2 and 3, the Miracle Prayer Temple on Avenue Q, St. Paul AME Church, North 27th Street, the Lincoln Park Recreation Center on Avenue M, Hayward L. Finn Center, Virginia Avenue, and lastly, the St. Lucie School. As a reminder, Election Day is December 7th. To learn more about the League of Women Voters and how you can get involved, please visit our website at www.lwvslc.org. Now on to the forum, which is the main reason why you have been kind enough to join us tonight. Tonight, we will hear from candidates running for City Commissioner, District 1, Seat 5. The format for tonight's forum will consist of a 90-second introduction by each candidate, followed by a series of questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. Finally, the candidates will have a 2-minute closing statement. The order of candidates was randomly selected prior to us joining you all on the line this evening. This is not a debate, so candidates will make their statements. We will move on to the next candidate or the next question. Candidates will then be alerted at the 30-second juncture when time is remaining, and again when their time has concluded. Our moderator for this evening is none other than Carol Wyatt. Carol is the co-owner and operator of local radio stations WPSL Port St. Lucie, WSTU Stewart, and WJNX Fort Pierce. She is the president of WPSL Christmas Kids of St. Lucie County, the past president of the Rotary Club of Port St. Lucie, and a member of Port St. Lucie Business Women. Carol has many years in broadcasting, including as a reporter in Los Angeles prior to relocating to Florida in 1993. We are so honored to have her as our candidate for a moderator yet for another year. And now, Carol, I pass the line on to you.
Well, thank you, Sabrina, and welcome to another League of Women Voters of St. Lucie County Candidate Forum. We thank the members of the League for developing all the questions. We certainly thank the candidates for participating, and we particularly thank the people listening and watching for informing yourselves about the special election coming up in Fort Pierce, December 7th. Now, this evening, the candidates for Fort Pierce City Commission, District 1, Seat 5. It is open to voters who reside in District 1, basically the northern half of Fort Pierce. It is to fill the remainder of the term of longtime City Commissioner Rufus Alexander, who passed away this last July. It is a nonpartisan race. So our candidates are Henry Duhart, Arnold Gaines, and Reggie Sessions. So we're going to begin with opening statements, and after that we will rotate who is going first with each of the questions. We'll start with Mr. Duhart.
Thank you so much. I was going to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to present my platform and what I wish to represent as City Commissioner of District 1 in my hometown of Fort Pierce, Florida. To get straight to the point, 3 priorities for me as a city commissioner will be: 1, to help people acquire the wealth and the medium household income we need to even participate in fighting back on things such as gentrification that is great when it comes to change, but a lot of times we don't meet the need of poverty and people still not working the proper kinds of jobs. So therefore, when we bring in developments and new housing, a lot of times those who've lived in these areas forever, when we don't meet the need of poverty and giving them better jobs, they're not able to participate in all these new housing. And that's what gentrification has done to many areas like Brooklyn, where people who had lived there their whole life, unfortunately got pushed out once new, fresh developments came in. And so I'm not against development, but I would really like to work very hard with Indian River State College, the Green Work Task Force, and all the different trade manufacturing opportunities throughout the area to be able to just make sure that people can get the proper types of jobs. I think it's going to be very important also for us to secure our communities here in Fort Pierce. And also I think it's going to be important for us to invest more money in arts in our Park and Recs department to make sure that when people come here, that they get to see all the different cultures and exposure that we have here in the area. And I think I could be a great advocate to bring a new energy, new ideas, and a new way of thinking and looking at things when it comes to the future and the present of Fort Pierce, Florida.
Okay, thank you. Next, with opening statement, Reggie Sessions.
Good evening. I want to thank the women for this opportunity to inform the public about the importance of participating in this electoral process. And being that it's an election at an odd time, it came about as a result of my colleague, Commissioner Rufus Alexander's death. And I'll say this much, that I'm looking forward and I'm working hard towards being an active participant in the political arena to make things happen in Fort Pierce. And right now, Fort Pierce, like so many communities, we're going through a crisis with the pandemic. It has hit us in so many different ways. Economically, it has hit us. Race relationships, it's hit us. There's so many things that are going on right now that local government can be more active in and participate and make a difference. I bring to the table experience. And one of the things that I worked hard for and I wanted to make a difference when I was in office is that I wanted to be an individual that at the closing of the door, I could say that I had done something. And that means a proven track record. I was the first person in this area. I didn't play the role as a politician when the politicians were saying there was no money to do it, or they couldn't figure out how they're going to put it in the budget. I was determined to bring COVID-19 testing in this city and in this area. And we succeeded at it. And we went on and we did food drives and things of that nature. And I can sit here and say that it was the determination and motivation to make a difference in our city, and I'm grateful for being that person.
Okay, thank you. Next, with an opening statement, Arnold Gaines.
Good evening, and thank you, League of Women Voters, for allowing me to participate in this event. I am Arnold Gaines. I'm a lifelong resident of Fort Pierce. I am a local attorney here in the St. Lucie County area. I entered this race to continue my community service that I've been doing all my life in Fort Pierce. If you can't find me in my office, you can find me on one of the ball fields in the north part of Fort Pierce, coaching softball, coaching baseball, running Gatorade and stuff to cheerleaders and football players. I'm on the board of the area of Agency of Aging, which I serve St. Lucie County. And during those meetings, I make sure that all the money coming from Tallahassee is equally divided and given to St. Lucie County. The one thing I will admit, I am not a politician. I'm a community servant. I want to help Fort Pierce. Right now, the unemployment rate in Fort Pierce is about 5.3%. The average is 4.9. So we have some work to do. I want to be your voice. I want to be able to help and speak for all the residents of District 1. So I'm asking for your support and your vote on December 7th. Again, Arnold S. Gaines. Thank you.
Okay, now you'll have 2 minutes. Thank you. You'll have 2 minutes to respond to each question, and we'll rotate who gets the first question. We'll start with Reggie Sessions on this. In your opinion, how important is a Florida home rule in city government and a city council's ability to execute ordinances, codes, and other official actions when state and county laws and codes do not adequately address a city's specific needs? Mr. Sessions.
I think it's very, very important to be able to have the home rule in place. And not only that, local government and the citizens need to make sure. What better person to determine what happens in your local community than you yourself? Does your state representative do that? To some degree. Does your county representative do that? To some degree. But more important than any of them are your city elected officials. That's one of the reasons why we have district voting, where there's a certain area cut out where that representative represents that particular area. He knows the issues that's in that area, so he can address those issues. So it's very, very important that we keep that in place. Right now on the beach, there's a lot going on with short-term rentals. The state is making that determination and it's happening. But our local individuals over there would like to determine who lives next door to them. And if we had more participation from the home rule governing that, we would have a different outcome. So to answer your question, it's very important if we want to continue to have a voice from a local standpoint, it's imperative.
Okay, Mr. Gaines, in your opinion, how important is Florida home rule?
Florida home rule is very important because who better than the local politicians or the local residents of city of Fort Pierce to know what's best for them. However, with home rule, you have to be able to get home rule in place. You have to be able to reach across the board to talk to others in the state, outside of the state, or in Tallahassee to get them to see our point and why we need home rule in St. Lucie County. The one thing we don't want to do is just be so adamant that, you know, the governor or the state legislator will not even listen to us. So you have to be able to talk and speak to people to help you get your home rule and what the residents of St. Lucie County and District 1 wants. So it's very important. We have to be able to stand up and be the voice for our residents and what they want in their homes, i.e. home rule. So to that question, it is very important and I'm all for it. And I will be the voice for the residents of St. Lucie County, District 1.
Okay, Mr. Duhart, in your opinion, how important is Florida home rule in city government?
As mentioned before, it's very important because, you know, there's a specific reason why we don't just have one governor ruling the entire state, because depending on what part of Florida you're in, there are certain things that people need. And it may be what we need here, whether it's financially assistance when it comes to development or just when it comes to, you know, rules and ways we follow things may be totally different than what they need in the Panhandle or South Florida. So it's very important for us to be able to have this power. And sometimes that does also mean going against what is the status quo throughout the state. That's the point of home rule. Not always necessarily to please people outside of our area, but make sure we're pleasing those that we're wishing to represent. So home rule here in Fort Pierce is great. We all know that we want to keep our hometown feel, you know, but also we are aware that we're growing. And I think home rule will allow us to grow while also keeping those traditional things that we care about and to keep our decisions more specific to our area and our demographics here. Because again, what is needed here may be different in Jacksonville, Miami, Panhandle. And so home rule allows us to not just have one paintbrush of governance, but to have a very specific way of governing based off of what people want in our areas, in our districts, in our communities that may not be the same from county to county or city to city.
Okay, next question, starting with Mr. Gaines. As a city council candidate, what will you do to ensure lowering the carbon footprint on the environment?
That's a good question. One of the things that I would start with is already on the board of moving the wastewater plant from off the beach over to the western part of the county. So one of the things that I would like to do with that is to see what benefits and it would take, or what benefits to the residents of District 1 in that move. Without having to sit on a board or see the numbers, I would like to see what we have or what we can do to start to turn our vehicles and anything that we use in the city to be more green. Fight to stop all the pollution coming in from Okeechobee that's going in our waterways. So once I get in and start looking at the boards and seeing what we can do, the environment is very important to us, because something my grandfather always told me, I don't care how much money you have, I don't care how much power you have, if you don't have trees to produce oxygen so you can breathe, you won't be here. If you don't have clean water to drink, you will not survive. So a green input is very important in my campaign and will be very important in my leadership.
Okay, Mr. Juhart, as City Council candidate, what will you do to ensure lowering the carbon footprint?
Well, I think because of all the new development that will be coming and has started coming to Fort Pierce, it's going to be very important that when we're talking with these different developers, such as the King Plant property or any other developers that we will be having, that we include in those contracts and those agreements that they add to lowering our carbon footprint, whether that's planting trees or whether they're requiring them to do a certain amount of things concerning, the environment. Because when you build on something, of course, we're going to develop, we're going to build things. But I don't think we should let developers just get away with building on, our lands, especially when we're sometimes tearing down the trees that already exist. So I think it's going to be very important when it comes to the contracts and the conversations we have with developers to make sure not only are we talking about financial gains, but also how we can make sure that the environment here is safer and that they're doing their part. And, that's why we have impact fees and things of that nature to make sure that, yes, you can develop here, but you need to do your part. So I think the biggest part in a city that's growing is to make sure that as we develop, that not only are the taxpayers a part of helping that with the projects that the city already does with our cleanups and with Morris Creek and working with the different environmentalists, but those who are going to be moving here and developing here also play a part in that, both financially and also just in generally putting the work in to help lessen our carbon footprint. And as we grow in the city, maybe working with MV Transport, who handles the transportation, to make sure that the new buses that we get are environmentally friendly, and also working with all of our local transportation to make sure that we have the kind of vehicles, even in the police department, that are more environmentally friendly. And I think just being a better advocate as a city commissioner, doing more cleanups, getting more people involved in cleanups, and just helping educate people on why it's important to care about your city and get more involved in preventing environmental harm.
Okay, Mr. Sessions, lowering the carbon footprint.
Lowering the carbon footprint is very important for a city such as Fort Pierce. And the reasons why I say that is this: the waterway and fishing, and also our air and environment. What put Fort Pierce on the map for the most part in a lot of ways as far as recreation and sporting was fishing. And with that being said, it's important that we keep our lagoon clean. When you look at our waterways, we're sitting and we're next to the Atlantic Ocean, and that's what brings so many people to the city of Fort Pierce. Our waterways, a lot of times, as far as the waterway is concerned, is dictated by our state government. Before the fruit industry, well, actually right now, since the fruit industry has gone down, a lot of the runoff from the groves is no longer there. However, we're going further west into Okeechobee, and we're having a lot of issues. And it is, in fact, hurting our waterway. So what's important? Money. Having a relationship with the young man that I was just endorsed by Michael Gutlet, a very powerful young man right now in the House of Representatives. He and I have had an opportunity to work. We've got to get the money in order to clean the waterways. Bottom line, that's what dictates it. Having a relationship so that we can get the money in here to keep our lagoon clean. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you. Next question, starting with Mr. Duhart. Fort Pierce has a higher than average percentage of citizens living in poverty compared to some other cities of comparable size. What will you do to reduce the number of citizens living in poverty, and how will the state of poverty look different at the end of your term? Mr. Duhart.
You're on mute, Henry.
Thank you, guys. So right now, the city of Fort Pierce has a population of about 46,000 people. Within that population, it is about 29% of those are living in poverty. So that's a couple thousand people living at the poverty level or below it. And that's, honestly not acceptable. So for me, the first thing I want to do, which has been a big thing I've been doing since I ran the first time when I was 24, which was trade certification jobs. And the reason why I support it so much, because my own generation has seen the changes that it can make. I'm 27. I have a lot of friends. Some of them went to get degrees, some of them didn't. But what I found that a lot of them, when they moved back home, was finding out how much beneficial it was to get into a trade, whether that's learning welding or any kind of manufacturing, and how they was able to provide for their families and even start their ambitious dreams with the money that they were making at a great paying job. So the biggest thing that I would do first off to help lower that 29% would be able to work with IRC Blackburn Center, which is a facility that has already been open to allowing people to do more there, and working with them and working directly with all the manufacturers that we have on Kings Highway and throughout the county to get people within my district trained for free, because there's a lot of grant funding out there to pay for people to get free training. And I, Henry Duhart, will work with them and work with everyone I can to get as many people's grandsons, granddaughters, older people, nieces, nephews, to get in the trade, male or female, and begin to really produce an income so you can be a provider for your family. That's the best thing we can do right now, is to get people into a quick turnaround type of job. A lot of people can be certified and working within the jobs within 6 to 8 months. I have an uncle and I have younger siblings who have degrees, found that they couldn't get the type of work they went to school for. And now after being trained, they work out on Kings Highway making 30, 40 bucks an hour. And some are going to become teachers in trades. So trades is the biggest thing I think we can do to actually fix poverty here in Fort Pierce, because we're just that kind of people, hands-on entrepreneur type of people. And I'll be a big supporter of trade certifications and getting as many people certified in those trade jobs and working with the establishments that exist to get that to happen.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sessions, how would you lower the number of people living in poverty?
Well, I asked myself the same question when I started government years ago. I was determined to come home and make a difference. What I saw when I was in law school was this. I saw a thriving port in the city of New Orleans and Baton Rouge. And I was determined to come back home with a drive and motivation to make it happen here, because we had a port that was not developed. And finally, what you're seeing on the port of Fort Pierce is a developed port. It's going to be like a domino impact. We're going to produce jobs. It's already starting to happen. The work industry surrounding the port, all types of jobs, the buildings surrounding the port have gotten more expensive now in terms of the value. It's starting to happen. And that was a project when I came home, they said, it's not going to happen. Where did you come from? It will never happen. The Grove owners on the west of town would never let that happen. But I worked hard. I knocked on the county commissioner's doors. I knocked on the state representative's doors, and I sit there and I rumble back and forth with the city. And I'm proud to say it's happening now. That's the type of drive that I have. When Amazon came through here, I played a role in them coming here. And not only that, when they got here, I knew we needed the labor force to put these young people to work. Right now, Amazon is one of the biggest employers in our area. They're hiring left and right. You see young people making money. They're not making $8, $9 an hour. They're making money. So we had a labor force that's now working. It's starting to work. We had a job fair and we put people to work. Thank God it's happening now.
Okay, thank you. Same question to Mr. Gaines. What would you do to reduce the number of people living in poverty?
One of the things I would start doing with is I would start with our own city maintenance department. Every building in the city of Fort Pierce, if something is going wrong, we have plumbers, we have electricians, we have everything. So I would start with our own city maintenance department and implement a program in our own city our own city maintenance program to say, hey, let's start a tutorial, let's start a trade, teach some of these young kids and some of the people in District 1 to learn to be plumbers, to learn to be electricians, to learn to be mechanics on our vehicles that we see driving around every day. Second thing I would do is for all the developers that are coming in and want to develop in our city, I would ask them to say, hey, as part of your development coming into our city, open up, leave a few spots so we can train somebody to be carpenters. We can train somebody to lay cement. Make it worth their while to our landlords who are out here. Hey, train somebody to be somebody who can control your property, who can run your property. Every day you drive around Fort Pierce, you see city workers working. Why not have an after-school program or a program where we train people and kids in our own district to do some of these jobs? We're gonna need them in the future. So why not start with our own city? And once we're doing it, we can ask other businesses to come in and do the same thing with you. So that's the first thing where I would start.
Okay, next question. We'll start with Mr. Sessions. Fort Pierce has experienced many crises, as many cities have, including hurricanes and the current pandemic. A crisis can often bring to light disparity among citizens. In the event of a crisis during your term, how do you propose ensuring that all Fort Pierce citizens are safe and they have adequate services to recover?
Key to that is getting the public, your citizens involved. Government has gotten to the point now where it's so overwhelming because they're only addressing government's issues. I'm an elected official. What I think is really not that important, but it's what you need. It's more important than anything. And my track record will show issues that I address, body cameras of that nature. When things were going wrong in terms of police brutality, we felt that it was imperative for us to get body cameras. These are things that I went out to the public, found out this was important to them. The pandemic, when I saw people getting sick and dying, I went out. I found a company to bring here when no other politician would, no other local government would, because they were trying to figure out what's going to happen with the budget. Thank God they finally started participating. But those are the type of issues that crisis that a politician has to address. He needs to find out what the consensus of the people are, not his personal beliefs, and be willing to transition, not to be a politician, but to be a humanitarian, to address the needs of the people. My track record speaks for itself. Even on the dais, doesn't matter to me what those individuals may feel. My concern is what you need.
Okay, same question, Mr. Gaines. How do you ensure that all Fort Pierce citizens are safe in a crisis and have adequate services?
The first thing you got to do is get out with the residents and show that you care. During the pandemic of the COVID just recently, we had a situation in District 1 where a restaurant wanted to serve free meals to parts of District 1. And people in District 1, some people in District 1 didn't want that restaurant to serve meals. I stood up and said, I know people who need to eat. Let's get this information out to people so they can go eat. And I went to bed well that night and all the rest of that time because families called me and thanked me for giving them the information to go get these free meals to go eat. In times of crisis, you have to put your ego aside. You have to get out and get with the people to say, hey, I'm suffering with you. I'm going to be there with you. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. It also comes with what relationships you have outside of Fort Pierce and other organizations that you can bring in to come in and help you at the time of crisis. I'm part of many organizations where I can call brothers and sisters all across this country if needed to come in and help Fort Pierce during a time of crisis. So the major thing you got to do is get out with the people and let the people know, hey, You're not sitting at home. You're not sitting behind your desk. You are out here working with us to get what we need to survive during this crisis.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Jihad. How do you ensure that all Fort Pierce citizens are safe and have adequate services in a crisis?
Well, I think someone who knows how to use the modern technology to communicate. Throughout the pandemic, I was able to communicate with all the different events that I was able to do, and the race that I was running at the time. Even though we weren't able to meet in person, I was able to penetrate homes and different communities with the knowledge that I wanted to present through knowing how to use targeting, knowing how to use social media, knowing how to use videos and things of that nature, even through a pandemic such as the one we just went through, where you couldn't actually even be in person. But that shouldn't stop us as elected officials and leaders of getting that information out to people. So what I would do is just use those tools that exist, Facebook, Instagram, email blasting, whatever, to get the information out there. Because a lot of times we get all the information, it's just getting it to people. And I would be an advocate for whatever it is at that time, whether it's COVID or any situations to come. I would make sure that I use my platforms and my connections to get the message out to people and make it very clear where to find the resources, not just get it out there, but make it clear, because a lot of times it can be very difficult for people to navigate our websites and find the information. So I would love to work with our tech department to make it more user-friendly, and also use my network to pull in any extra resources if needed. If we don't have everything we need here, then making friendships with other commissioners, other state legislators, people in the state government and in the national government, and just bringing those resources to my community if we cannot get certain resources. But the biggest thing would be to be an advocate for whatever the changes that need to be prevented, and using my platforms to make sure, again, that people know about information. I think the biggest things at early stages of COVID was people just didn't know exactly where to go or exactly what was free, so getting that information out is not hard. You just got to know how to use the technology. And I've shown that I know how to use social media to get a message out. And I would do the same thing during the pandemic or any other crisis.
Okay, thank you. Next question. We'll start with Mr. Gaines. Regarding the redevelopment area of Fort Pierce in District 1, address the issues of getting residents in the Lincoln Park area ready for new job offerings in the redevelopment area.
Again, thank you for that question. It starts with re-education, trades, letting the residents of District 1 know what is coming. You have to be able to do some of these new jobs. Everyone will not go to college. We need plumbers, we need landscapers, we need electricians, we need mechanics. St. Lucie County and Fort Pierce has the ability to do that right now. We have the ability to train the residents in District 1 with our own city maintenance department, with our own city departments. So to let the residents of District 1 be prepared, we got to let them know, hey, this is what is coming. Jobs at the port are coming. Here are the jobs. Jobs at the new development are coming. They're building new constructions. We need you to plant trees. We need you to learn how to take care of trees. Learn what proper fertilizer for trees. This is what we have to do. We have to prepare the people of residents of District 1 what is coming. Let it be known, get out there and let's do it. And let the city leaders be the one to say, hey, we'll do it first. We'll start the trade programs. And then anybody that wants to come into our city to develop our city, they must follow suit. So that's what I would do.
Okay, same question, Mr. Jihad. Getting residents in the Lincoln Park area ready for new job offerings in the redevelopment area.
That goes back to the secure the workforce. Right now, the biggest thing that I found out, even running for county commissions, is that we have a very large uncertified workforce in the area, but we have so much manufacturing opportunities. So I think the only real solution and the only step we should really have to take is just getting more people certified, and hopefully multiple trades, male and female of all ages. Not just young people need jobs, but there are people of all ages. Our poverty rates are not just people under the age of 25. There are different age groups. So I think it's important to build different pathways for different people. And again, I will work with the Green Work Task Force, which is a trade training facility that already exists. Kings Highway has a multitude of not only manufacturers, but people on those jobs who are trained to certify people in welding, such as people in my own family who are now getting trained to be able to certify people in welding. So what I would do is, again, work with facilities that we currently have to train people, such as the Blackburn Center or any facilities that we own. And after training those people, getting them directly into the job. Very simple. And not just Lincoln Park. District 1 consists of everything basically west of US 1 and north of Virginia. District 1 is more than Lincoln Park. It goes all the way down to Walmart. So I would like to just also broaden people's knowledge of what District 1 is and to unite us and let them know that so many people around this area need these opportunities and they come from different backgrounds, and trades is for everybody. And I think our community will benefit if we increase our workforce. So what will I do? On the first day, I'm going to go to all facilities that will allow me to train somebody on there or already training them. Then I will go to all the manufacturers who are hiring people, and I will connect those dots and get as many grant opportunities out there so that people get trained and certified as soon as possible and right into the work field. There are people who can get trained within 6 months, 5 months, and be walking on apprenticeship programs paying them $35+ an hour. So the simple solution is to get people trained and straight into the work field, and I'll be able to connect those dots and build those bridges for my whole entire District 1 community.
Okay, same question to Mr. Sessions, getting residents ready for new job offers.
Eyes on Fort Pierce. The reason being eyes on Fort Pierce is because things are starting to happen. Places like Wawa, Starbucks, and Chick-fil-A. Rest assured, these types of businesses don't come in cities that don't have a future. And the future lies with our employment increasing, where we can have compatible salaries for blue-collar workers and white-collar workers. Reason why I mentioned blue-collar workers and probably put a little more emphasis on that is that that's what has kept Fort Pierce economically growing for numerous of years because of the fruit industry. That no longer exists. Nevertheless, we have now the boating industry north of town. We have a boating manufacturer that's hiring. They're looking, they're desperate. And these are high paying jobs. We have the Port of Fort Pierce. They're going to be looking and they're going to be desperate. And these are opportunities. When opportunity meets desire, that's when it happens. The opportunity is here. Now it's imperative that we train the citizens so that they can knock on the door and say, I'm ready, I'm equipped, I have the training that you need, and I'm ready to go to work. So we have to develop a relationship with our college so that they can make sure that our citizens have the type of training that they need. Job fairs. Let's not leave out individuals with records. Recidivism rate is a problem in Fort Pierce. We've got to put young men that have felonies, put them back to work, give them the training, get the bonds put in place so they can go and work for these companies. And it will be a win-win for everybody. The crime rate will go down because they don't have to return and doing things that they used to do. And things will just start to happen if we can concentrate on them and put a lot more focus on them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Duhart. Do you believe the city of Fort Pierce should be financially involved in the cultural arts, such as owning the Sunrise Theater, possibly assisting to fund the Lincoln Theater? If so, why? And if no, why not?
I think it is very important for the city to take part in the arts and culture. I was just speaking on this the other day that even if we build a Marriott in downtown, people don't come to Miami and all these other places that have these draws because of the big buildings. They come there for the culture, and you will see that those cities invest a lot of money in their parks and rec and in their culture and their events. So I do think that it is possible to be able to own things such as the Sunrise Theater, and I'm a huge supporter of the partnership with the Lincoln Theater. Because I think it can help be another economic boost like it was before in the 60s and the 50s for that particular community. I think we need to make smart business decisions. Of course, Sunrise Theater hasn't really, it's not, sometimes we've had to make up for what it was producing. But I think that also can be to the point that we're not embracing the cultures that exist. I always tell people that there's such a diverse group of people. And when I go in downtown Fort Pierce or when I experience culture in Fort Pierce, I want to make sure I experience every type of culture. So I think what we need to do is not necessarily it's a bad idea to invest in theaters and be a part of that, but I think we need to diversify the type of shows we do, the type of people we draw. I love country music like anybody else, and I love Elvis, but there's so much. There's a Haitian culture here. There's an island culture here. There are Irish cultures here. There are rockers here. There are people who love blues. There are people who love jazz. We need to invest in that. When we go into our downtown entertainment areas, we need to invest in the fact that we have a huge island community and have more events that gear towards that. We need to go into our downtown's area and, smell all types of food, Haitian food, Cuban food, Irish food. I think we're not advertising and opening up our ability to draw more people. And I think we need to broaden the diversity that we show in arts and culture and invest more money in what already exists here. So I'm a big fan of arts and culture, and especially a big fan of the Lincoln Theater finally getting up and running. And I'll be a big supporter in raising money to get that $3 million we need to get it going.
Okay, Mr. Sessions, same question. Should the city be involved in the cultural arts?
Cultural arts is a business as far as theaters are concerned. There are two different issues. You have cultural art and you have theater. When you look at the history of the Sunrise Theater, it's had a negative impact on the city. It's at a deficit of $600,000, $700,000 a year. The city of Fort Pierce, with the police department and the roads and the condition that they're in, cannot continue to support the Sunrise Theater at the magnitude of money that it has been in the past. It's just not going to work. What I suggest is this. Indian River State College is in the business of running theaters. And not only that, they have the financial wherewithal, they have the funding, they receive the state funds, they receive the private funds, they have their own theater. I think it's time that we partnership up, and this is something new that has never been discussed, and I'm bringing it up here tonight. I'm glad you brought that up. I think they're better equipped and they can handle running the Sunrise Theater because the city cannot continue to do so at the cost that it has. Indian River State College has the staff, they'll make sure of the diversity. Like Mr. Duhart was saying earlier, we want it to be more diverse. What better organization than a college that filters all issues, young, old, black, white, young, doesn't matter what your race or religion is. I think the college can do it. I think it's time that we knock on their door and say, hey, look, do you want to take over the theater? And we will work with you in order to do so.
Same question, Mr. Gaines, should the city be involved in, financially involved in the cultural arts?
Yes, we should. Tourism is still the #1 industry in Florida. Let's not kid ourselves. And with the growth rate that we are expecting in Florida, and with the history of the Lincoln Theater, it would be a great opportunity to attract more money into the city. But we have to be smart. We can't just continue to take losses when there are so many other things in the city that needs help, i.e. the roads, like Mr. Sessions says. But however, if we could find a happy medium to increase the production or the shows at the Sunrise Theater, they just named the upper section after one of my fraternity brothers, Earl F. Little. Everybody has a past. However, let's move forward. Let's make it work for Fort Pierce. I grew up hearing about the Lincoln Theater and wish I was back in the 60s, like Mr. Duhart said, to see some of the entertainers that came through. If we sit down and budget it and do it the right way and use it as a tourism for the growth that we're knowing that is coming to Fort Pierce, it'll be more jobs, more money for the city. Mr. Duhart is an entertainer, great band. I guarantee he could probably sell out the Lincoln Theater with his band when it's ready to go. So we have to be smart and sit down and see how it works best for the city of Fort Pierce. But tourism is still one of the major industries in Florida.
Okay, thank you. Next question. We'll start with Mr. Sessions. What are your top 3 priorities for Fort Pierce should you be elected?
#1, first and foremost, the crime rate. What's going to happen if Fort Pierce is going to survive and remove that negative stigma is the crime is going to have to come down. I live in District 1, in the center of District 1. And I'm tired of gunshots and sirens going off night after night after night. And I'm being told that the crime rate is going down. However, all of my constituents in the area, my friends, the churches are telling me, what's going on? Is it going to get any better? let's deal with the issue. Crime is a problem. Some decisions are going to have to be made in order to address those problems. ShotSpotter was something that we had brought to the attention of city government, and it worked in other neighborhoods in other cities. So crime is one. Getting our citizens to be able to revitalize themselves after the pandemic is another issue. We've got to come up with a comprehensive plan for our businesses that have closed down, that have gone away, even the attitude and the disposition of citizens to even spend money, to even support our businesses. We've got to give them the confidence that we're at a point now that we're going to survive and we're going to bounce back and we're going to be creative and come up with things, and things are happening in terms of the job industry. So that's two of the issues. And last but not least, code enforcement. We've got to remove that stigma. District 1, when you look around and see the debris and the lots and the things of that nature and what's going on in our area, we've got to be stricter with our code enforcement and improve the infrastructure, the sidewalks and the streets. When I was in office, I went back and forth with our government. Look, we need to put the money into 17th Street. It's happening. We need to put the money into 13th Street. It happened. So with that being said, I have the right attitude. I'm motivated. I have a past and a history for making it happen. And I'm determined to be your next commissioner for District 1 to keep that momentum going. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Same question to Mr. Gaines. Your top 3 priorities for Fort Pierce should you be elected?
My first priority for Fort Pierce is to get the residents of Fort Pierce trained and ready to be able to get the jobs that are coming, to get the jobs that are already here, where you see the help wanted signs, to be certified, and to not to be scared to go apply for the job. That's the first one, to get everybody ready and trained and back to work. The second thing would be dealing with the crime. It goes back to my first point. Most of the crime that we hear every night with the gunshots is because people are unemployed. People don't have jobs to support themselves. We got to get them to see and give them hope that, hey, if you listen to me, you go get training, you can change your life around, you can do better for yourself and your family. Now, some people just don't want that, and that's something we'll deal with down the road. The last thing that I would do is unity. We got to have some unity between the districts. We got to have some unity between the city and the county. And unity is one of my strongest points. I can work with anybody. I've done it all my life, and I'll continue to do it in the future. So jobs, training, which emphasizes and helps crimes, and then unity, putting everybody together, District 1, District 2, city, county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Duhart, same question. If elected, your top 3 priorities for Fort Pierce.
Top 3, when in the seat, first thing I'm doing is securing the program that will get people trained. So securing the facilities within an accessible distance from my constituents that I want to represent, and whether that's at the center or the old Garden City facility, and getting people trained, and then securing relationships with the manufacturers to hire those who we train, and then doing my job to organize and brand that initiative well, to make sure as many people within my district are able to be trained for free is the goal, and then straight to a job with an increasing medium household income instantly within a couple of months when it comes to the trade kind of work and how it all works out. Second would be securing the community. I find that the first thing is home security as a human right is something that I would promote and support. And I would like to try to work with the different organizations that exist now and the grants that are out there for home security cameras, and to get as many people within my district who do not already have one, a home security camera, and promote home security as a human right. I think this will naturally make people feel safer. Our senior citizens shouldn't have to feel afraid when they are approached about questions about things that go on. A lot of times they're scared because when the officer leaves, they're still left by themselves. This is a way for people to participate in helping the Fort Pierce Police Department without having necessarily to show themselves what may some people call a snitch, I guess. This is a more modern way. You can easily share clips from your Ring camera, So securing our community, I think that'd be the most effective thing we can do, because the biggest thing happens is theft in our area. And I think also if more houses had Ring cameras, we'd be able to catch more things and solve more cases and get more things happening. And then lastly, rebranding, showing the great things that happen in our community more than the negative things, putting a highlight on all the community events that go on, all the different Divine Nine organizations that put on community events all the time, all the different local organizations who've been working for years in our community, like Image of Christ, like also, I know Mr. Rufus is doing, they just did a give back. There are great things that happen all the time in this area, but that is not always what is portrayed and put out there. I will increase the rebranding of Fort Pierce by showing what we actually do, and also just making sure that people take pride in their communities again. And we can do that by showing the truth of District 1, which is a great community that is strong, that is united, that is brave, and rebranding our community would be a key thing that I would want to help do as well.
Okay, thank you. We've come to the end of our questions here. Now it's time for the closing statements. And in our rotation, we'll start with Mr. Gaines first. You have 2 minutes.
I want to again thank the League of Women Voters for allowing me to come on tonight. And to the audience who's listening, I want to be your voice. I am passionate about Fort Pierce. I've only been out of Fort Pierce maybe 7 years of my whole 53 years of living. I'm in the streets of Fort Pierce every day working for the citizens of Fort Pierce. When Mr. Sessions was in office and he had a rally or he needed something, he called me, I was there. When Mr. Duhart ran in all his other races, he called me, he needed me, I was there. I'm all about the residents of Fort Pierce. I've been fighting all my life. Again, one of my major points about myself is I am a uniter. I can reach across the board. I feel that I can bring the city and county together. We need to work together for the residents of Fort Pierce. I think I can reach to all ages. I'm already on the board for helping the elderly now. I have a millennial, so I can reach to the millennials and I can reach to the people of my age. So I can talk to everybody. I'm an open policy. I have an open door. You come to me, you tell me a problem, I will discuss it with the other commissioners and I will get an answer for you. One of the things that I really want to do is make our boards and our leaders to look like all of Fort Pierce. Fort Pierce is a District 1 is a wide area, and our boards and the people who sit on our boards need to look like everybody that lives in Fort Pierce. Thank you, Arnold S. Gaines. Please vote for me, City Commissioner, District 1, Seat 5, December the 7th, 2021. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next closing statement from Mr. Duhart. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. One, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity again. I believe it is very important that we allow for the generations that we raise to be leaders. And I think that being 27 and growing up in this area and living here in Fort Pierce my entire life, outside of the time that I spent at Florida A&M University, I've been a leader and I've been shown that I can organize people of all ages, all belief systems, and all colors. I think we have a great thing right now with the current commissioner for District 1 because he represents a generation that has a lot of wisdom. Commissioner Johnson comes from a whole different generation than I do. But I think that if we unite a younger person with an older person who are both born and raised in Fort Pierce, that is the smartest and most powerful thing we can do to combat everything that is happening at Fort Pierce. Because I think it's going to be very important that we bridge those gaps. And the only way we can ever really truly say that we want young people to come to the table is a show by putting a representative up there and then bridging those gaps between our generations and make sure we fight with the knowledge that the generations before us has and the knowledge that the generation that currently exists has. I will make sure that I fight for my community. I love Fort Pierce and I love District 1. And I'm afraid and I'm fearful that if we don't get it right, if we don't start making certain strides, then gentrification will consume those native and resident to this area. It is already happening. And I think that my ability to communicate, to get information out there, I was able to be a part of organizing so many different rallies and events that were safe. We had a whole rally at the Roosevelt Bridge with over 1,000 people that I was key in organizing and brought so many different people together. So more than anyone, I don't just participate, I organize, I put on, and I put the work in it. And I love to do it. It doesn't tire me or anything. And that's the kind of person we need. to combat what is happening in Fort Pierce. Someone who's strong, someone who has fresh ideas, someone who, whether I have friendships with everyone on the board in some form, but it will not stop me from standing up for the things that are right and things that are wrong. You cannot buy Henry, and you will never buy Henry. Henry will stand on what he believes in, and he will listen to his constituents to make sure we make a better Fort Pierce for everybody. Black, white, Hispanic, of all parts of District 1 will be united, I think, under my terms, and I'll be able to really push not only older people, but really truly bring young people to the table, because we do need to step up. And what better way to do that than to bring a representative from our generation?
Thank you. Okay, and now a closing statement from Reggie Sessions.
I think it's imperative right now on any governmental body, when you're in the middle of a crisis, an operation, a series of events that we're in right now with this pandemic going on, emergency, that you can get someone that can get in the starting blocks and come out running. When you look at my track record, the things that I've done and our accomplishments, I was sitting here and I was thinking earlier about one of the proudest moments of my career was when Wawa was building in Fort Pierce. The first Wawa came about, and we went out and we did the groundbreaking, and staff came to pull me over and said, there's someone that wants to talk to you. And I'm just shaking my hand, going around talking to different ones. I said, okay, let me go and see who this is. I went over there and I met the owner of Wawa. He looked at me in the eye and he said, if it had not been for you, I probably would have given up on this city a long time ago. And the reasons why was because he was tired of the bureaucracy with the city hall and the things that were happening. And he saw me where I had the initiative to make sure that Wawa was going to come here to take out that bureaucracy. Having rules and regulations is one thing, but when it becomes too overbearing, which is what City Hall has a lot of reputation of doing, then it just kills the whole entire opportunity. And we were about to lose Wawa. So that was something that stood out in my mind. I'm not afraid to address the real issues. When the pandemic came down, we had 2 food drives. We had COVID-19 testing. We did things to address that. And we had them centrally located in the area that it would help all individuals. Where was government? Nowhere around trying to figure out what we're going to do next. Well, I saw people dying and sick. I had to step to the plate. That's going to be a continued process of mine. I'm going to be a humanitarian before a politician. I'm looking forward to being the commissioner for District 1. My name is Reggie Sessions. Vote for me December the 7th. You need me and I need you. Thank you.
Certainly, thank you to all 3 candidates for Fort Pierce City Commission, District 1, Seat 5, Henry Duhart, Reggie Sessions, Arnold Gaines. Thank you for being with us and for participating. We thank the members of the League for developing the questions for this evening, and certainly thank everyone listening and watching for informing yourselves and getting ready to vote. It's coming up December 7th. Sabrina?
Thank you so much again, Carol, for certainly always stepping in and supporting the League of Women Voters as we continue to provide these much important forums to our registered voters and potential registered voters to ensure that not only are they hearing the candidates and the issues that that residents is most important to residents, but more importantly, being able to bring in a nonpartisan way candidates to the public. Thank you, candidates, for making time to certainly share your platform with the residents of District 1. And to our viewers, we certainly know that you could have been doing so many other things this evening, but you made time to spend time with us to get to know these candidates just a little bit better as you make this very important choice. So for those of you who are registered to vote, please know that your voice is your vote. Your vote is your voice. For those of us who are not registered, those of you or rather who are not registered, we encourage you to certainly spend time at the Supervisor of Election Office and learning how important it is to get registered and how easy it is. The League of Women Voters certainly looks forward to interacting with you sometime in the very near future in our beautiful city of Fort Pierce and Port St. Lucie, not only to educate people to vote, but also register those as well. If nothing else, please have a good night, be safe, be well, until the next time.